eight,
Yeah, he'll be all right.
basically residents plus 2
Care,
adults.
it
Yeah,
caregivers
caretakers, whatever,
if they choose to live there.
Right, right.
Okay. 8 and 2.
Not 2 and 2. Thank you, sir.
Oh, man. Make you check in every once a month, you know, and go through all this thing, you know. Gotta know your great aunts, social security number and all that stuff.
That's how you set it up, buddy. That's what you gotta do.
That ain't how I said it. Somebody else did.
That's all right, they know me.
Ready? Go ahead.
Yeah.
Council workshop meeting, March 3rd, 2025, 6 p.m. Bear.
Here.
Briggs.
Here.
Coulter.
Here.
Heidrich.
Here.
Holtmeyer.
Here.
Patke. Reed. Wessels.
Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will all the committee members answer if they have or have not read the minutes of the meeting dated February 3rd, 2025? Bear.
Yes.
Briggs.
Yes.
Coulter.
Yes.
Heidrich.
Aye.
Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Patke.
Yes.
Wessels.
Aye.
Need a motion.
Make a motion.
Second.
Who's Chad? Okay, motion by Briggs, second by Coulter. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, guys. I only have one hearing aid tonight, you guys, so.
Which side is it?
Your side's working. My side's not, so, there you go.
We have to yell.
We went over this before. Right, Doug?
We have added an item, which is right in front of you, a letter from Kevin regarding the fiber connection at Crestview Water Tower. If he would like to come up and explain.
Good evening, council. Sorry to bring this to you this way. However, this is a fast-moving project, and I just received this information a couple days ago, which was after the packet was put out. We are working on rebuilding our wireless network that we have out in the system from Crestview that spreads out to all the buildings that we connect. And in the process of that, we're trying to remove some middlemen and some bad links that have been going on with working together with suppliers and everything, or providers. And one of them is Bluebird Fiber up at Crestview. We've had Bluebird Fiber since 2012 up there. We were one of the first customers of Bluebird when they came through in 2012. And it's been a good working service. We haven't had any problems with it. So we tried to, I contacted them to see if we could take over the management of the fiber. It had been through Wash PC, then through Bluebit. And negotiating with them, they said, yes, the city could take over management of the fiber up there. So I asked them to send me a quote. The quote came in at $600 a month, and the previous payments we was making was $1,750 a month for the same service. So we can take it over, but we need to sign a contract. The only problem is that contract, we need to have it signed by the 15th because there's a rate increase. The Bluebird took over, has new management, new CEO and a CFO. They evaluated all of the users out there, and they realized that Washington is paying well under industry standards. However, we've been with them so long that they are gonna honor this contract if we can get it signed by the 15th and carry it on for 3 years, so we'll at least have that price for 3 years. So what I'm really asking is if I could have you guys approve for Darren to sign the contract, and then I'll come back on the 17th with the ordinance and the contract and everything for you to finalize and approve officially. But however, we just need to move forward on this to have that kind of savings, $1,100 a month savings roughly, so.
Sounds like a no-brainer to me. I'll make a motion.
Do we have the people that can do what they've done? I mean, or what has Bluebird done for us other than manage that?
Well, Bluebird is actually the fiber provider.
Right.
So they send the fiber into their switch, and then we take it over from their switch into our switches. So we're working with NOC right now to revamp all of this. It's just a matter of just taking over that bill and the ability to call Bluebird if there is a problem. Before, we used to have to call either Wash PC if something happened or Blue Bit, and then we had to wait for them to get a hold of everything. It was a real mess. It became, last year's been nothing but a mess. So this way, it gives us the ability to call directly and say, hey, this has happened. They will then respond directly to us rather than responding to the middleman, then them trying to get with us, and it's been a fiasco in a sense.
Okay.
Not because of Bluebird, but just how.
I think that the short answer to your question, Jeff, is NOC or whoever does our IT can go ahead and provide that. We don't need, it's not us that's
Yeah,
doing
it's not
it.
us.
It's
It's-
NOC
Okay,
that
that was
would be.
my main question.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
we're just
right.
we're just managing the fiber connection coming into the building as far as responsibility and payment.
I'll second the motion that we
Yeah.
made.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion or questions of Kevin, you guys?
If you don't have any now, like I said, I'll be back on the 17th, and I'll be more than happy to answer anything else and give you some history if you'd like it, if we have the time, so.
All right, thank you, Kevin.
If I could do one more thing real quick while I'm here.
Well, hold on. They never voted on
Oh,
the
you gotta
motion.
vote first, yeah.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion by Hydrich, second by Wessels. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
Passed. Sign it.
Thank you very much. I'll have Darren's information to Darren tomorrow. We'll get it taken care of. Real quick, I just want to give you an update on Front Street water line. We're replacing that. We're going to start on that the week of the 10th. That's the plan, is to start on it then. So we'll be down there replacing the water line. So,
How long do you
okay,
think,
thank you all.
how long do you think that'll take?
That's probably going to take at least a month. We're going to try and do it in stages, so we'll just shut down little pieces as we go, but yeah. Okay, thank you.
Presentations, future transportation presentation.
I guess I'm gonna go down there. So, we wanted to go ahead and give you this presentation. For those of you that are at our Washington Area Transportation meeting, we provided this presentation to them. We've been working, and prior to this, we've also given this presentation to the chamber to see if they were willing to go ahead and push forward with the effort to go ahead and discuss, or at least move forward with the transportation sales tax renewal. So, and the paper was at that meeting and covered it. They only had one error. I didn't tell John, but John wasn't the one reporting on it, but it was actually 2.8%, or 2.85 million, not 3 point, but that's okay. But anyway, we're gonna keep moving forward, and we thought it'd be good to go ahead and give it to the council. So, your current sales tax that's in place, it's a 25-year term. It started in 2005 and ends in 2030. The tax started to fund the Highway 100 widening to 4 lanes from 44 to High Street. We did it in 3 phases in 2008, 2010, and 2013. The reason for it being a 25-year term was that the bond payments end in 2030. That's the main reason why it had that shelf life. It was also going to be used to fund local street paving and sidewalk replacement. Prior to that, we had partial payment either from homeowners based on linear street frontage, or if we did it for nothing without an assessment, we used a chip and seal surface to go ahead and maintain our roads prior to that. And it also funded additional projects. It helped assist us leverage grant projects, bridge and culvert replacement and construction projects, and even trail projects as far as our matches on those projects. So as we all know, with the capacity improvements that we did for 100, as we said, it was done in 3 phases. First, phase 1 was 47 east to the city limits. That was in front of the Phoenix Center development. That was in 2008. Phase 2 was the large one that got us from where we ended phase 1 all the way to 44, 8 miles. Phase 3 was Highway 47 to High Street, and that was 1.5 miles, and that was the last phase that was completed on 100 in 2013. City cost share with MoDOT was 50-50. We had a total project cost of $52 million. City's portion was $26 million in bonds paid out over 25 years from the half-cent sales tax. So, and again, as we said, that ends in 2030. This map just depicts those phases. The yellow was the farther, the last phase, that was the far west. You had the middle section in front of Phoenix Center in red, and then all the way out to 44 in blue. So before the tax, as we said earlier, you had chip and seal overlays. They sprayed a thin layer of, you guys probably all know this, a thin layer of liquid asphalt and spread rock on top. A general revenue fund was used for those improvements and additional special tax if we needed to adjacent property owners. Any overlay done would require additional tax on abutting property owners of that street. So if we did a full reconstruction of that street, those were assessed for that if it didn't get grant funding. Any sidewalk, curb and gutters was cost shared with abutting property owners. Especially if you'll remember the sidewalk, the city had started, when they started replacing hazardous sidewalks, initially it did a 50-50 cost share with the property owner, and then moved to a 2/3, 1/3 first phase, and then we eliminated it entirely when we passed the transportation sales tax.
Darren,
It
do you
wasn't
remember vaguely
Yeah.
what the, I guess the property owners were charged per foot?
It depended upon whatever the estimate was, and then eventually whatever the bid was.
Okay.
So I don't know, that was, I would like to say it was before my time, it wasn't. I was down in engineering, at the time. I think we probably sent a letter out to the property owners, letting them know what the estimate would be, and then we probably followed it up with whatever the bid cost was when it came in.
I was just curious.
Yeah, I don't, it all depends on what it was at that time. Those are pictures of chip and seal with that. As you know, this was not a popular maintenance service throughout the city because it tracked in, people got to track in their cars, they tracked it in their house, and it took a long time to go ahead and cure. The process that most of you know that we use now for our maintenance on our streets is NovaChip. It cures very fast. You don't need to wait for it to go ahead and mature or whatever. It's chip and seal would take half a day, maybe an all day, depending upon what the temperature was. Then you can see the before and after of some of these streets of what we've done. I think what he's got here is Wainwright, if I can read sideways. And you can see the cracking that we had before, and then what the NovaChip surface does. So the proposed sales tax that we're talking about, we've been looking at what do we need to do for, the issue, and this is what we'll come up to, is why are we talking about this now? We'll get to that in just a few minutes. But essentially, as you guys know, when we go ahead and submit grant projects or whatever, that takes 4 to 5 years sometimes before we see the actual construction of the project. If you don't have the funds available to go ahead and leverage that 20% match, then it's either going to have to come out of general fund if it's that important, if you didn't have the tax, or you don't get the project done. And so those are some of the concerns. We've looked at some water improvements that we need over the next 20 years, and we looked at 20 years for now. That's up to debate, but this is what we came up with initially. So it wouldn't have to extend out for 25 years. We think you could do it for a phase of 20. That's flexible depending upon how we get some of these projects funded. But major projects that we would look at to consider is Highway 100 widening to 4 lanes from High Street all the way to Vossbrink Drive. That's identified in a comprehensive plan as such. Highway 47 south widening to 4 lanes from city limits to, at minimum, the east-west Parkway intersection. I'll talk a little bit more in depth about 47 as we get there. Phases of east-west Parkway extension as development occurs, just like the city has historically done it. We don't move in and build the street unless the development comes to us, and then it's necessary to go ahead and facilitate traffic. We have not gone out and purchased right away without knowing the fact that we're going to put the street in relatively quickly right after that. High Street extension south to Highway A, that's part of that east-west Parkway roadway that we identified on the maps. You also have the 10% match that you'd have to go ahead and provide for any airport improvements. That comes out of your transportation sales tax fund. And then the local improvements, which is, as we mentioned earlier, the local paving that we do on the streets, ADA, sidewalk ADA improvements, parking lots, trails, all of that. The purpose of this was to discuss placing it on the spring of 2026 ballot. As most of you know, that would also be at the same time that the capital improvement sales tax would be proposed to be placed, because that's when that terminates as well. But, and we'll get into that again as to why. So the grants, this is the best way that we do to extend our local match as far as we possibly can. As we said earlier, we continue to seek out grant opportunities at the federal, state, and county level. We bring those to you, and those agreements is, when they become available. The airport utilizes grants for all projects, and it's typically, like I said earlier, and most of you are aware, 90-10 projects. The Transportation Alternative Program is an 80-20 grant. That's for major trail improvements and extensions. Sometimes that can be adjacent to a street. It doesn't have to be exclusive of a trail, but it's got to be trail-related, basically. We did that with the Bush Creek Trail Extension as an example. We continue to apply for STP funds and other 80-20 grants for major routes. This includes repaving, sidewalk replacement. You've got new major roadway extension for High Street and East-West Parkway. The goal is to go ahead and get them on the list to be eligible for federal funding. Large MoDOT projects, we could, at minimum, what we looked at was utilizing the 50-50 cost share with MoDOT. This whole presentation kind of started with the presentation that we gave to the Highway Commission back when they were here in town in October, and discussing the potential for our partnership with them, just like we did for Highway 100. There was a lot of new members on the board at that time, and a lot of them weren't aware of the fact of what the city had already done with partnerships with funding for Highway 100. But we're also looking to go ahead for ways to leverage other grant opportunities. So it's like, just like, I'll give you an example, as you all know, when Charles makes successful application for East Fifth Street and 100, for example, to go ahead and get 2 additional dedicated left turn lanes and 1 dedicated westbound right onto 100, that all comes, we received that 80-20, that's the CMAQ, the last bullet that you see there. So we want to go ahead, your sales tax, your transportation sales tax is the 20% that we have for those types of projects. And that's a perfect example of projects that take 4 years to come to fruition sometimes to go ahead and do. So this is part of the reason, so that why now? As I said, it takes 4 years to typically get those projects. What we don't want to do is handcuff ourselves in applying for projects down the road beyond 2030, and we want to go ahead and keep that as seamless as possible. Tax renew would begin in 2030 and run through 2050. At that time, just to make it very clear, this is not proposed to go ahead, even if it would be on the ballot in 26, it would not double the tax from 26 to 30. It would only just renew it as soon as it ended in 2030. That's what we would propose to put on the ballot. So there's no new tax increase as a result of that. The idea was to pair it with the capital improvement sales tax, which terminates, as I said earlier, in 2026. The mayor will be looking at forming a committee this summer to go ahead and review those, and we were looking at having that committee look at both of these taxes to renew at that time and get their input. Grant funding process, like we said earlier, takes 4 to 5 years, and you need to have this allocated for the construction phase, which is the last phase typically. These are the roads that are grant-eligible roadways. These are the ones that Charles's office applies for SDP funds, brings it to you so that you guys go ahead and you pass a resolution so that we can make application. This is how Jefferson Street, 3rd Street, those are the typical ones that you've seen. Front Street's going to be in a couple of years. So those are all projects that are eligible for those grants that we try to go ahead and leverage as much as we possibly can. Future major projects, as we said earlier, the 2 main ones, at least, that we'd be working with MoDOT on are Highway 100 and 47. You would have the extension of High Street. If there was any portion of the parkway that needed to be built as a result of development that we said before, we'd also be using those funds for that as well. This is a blow-up of 47. The mayor and I recently had a meeting with MoDOT, with Jordan Davalos, Dalaveras, I'm going to butcher his last name, sorry, Jordan. And we talked about 47 because there are some discussions. MoDOT does have 47 targeted for construction in 28, at least what they've identified, and I think that papers reported on those meetings that we had. The most recent one was at East Central about a month or so ago. The portion that we would be looking at is just south that you can see there on the map, that basically where the East-West Parkway roadway would intersect with it. We do have 2 developers that have purchased property, at least on the east side of Highway 47. So we anticipate that intersection will have to be put in at some time in the near future. But 47 is, they do have the funding, MoDOT does have the funding, and we're talking with Jordan to see what do we need to participate, if anything, for that. And if there's stuff that we want to, like, for example, if you want to bump that up in the schedule a little bit, there's a possibility that we can do that. And we're talking about those combinations of funding, and we'll get to a little bit more. Go ahead and to the next one. And you can see 47, we want to extend 4 lanes, approximately 4,000 feet. East-West Parkway is one discussion. We've talked with them about going obviously further than that. If there was some type of cost share that the city would look at doing, we'd possibly. 4 lanes currently ends, as we all know, Beaker Road and Studerman Road. And again, this would be funded project was for safety and capacity improvements. I would also say, so part of the thing that we talked about with Jordan, and this is just a possibility, would be is looking at if we could get possible leverage grant funds through East-West Gateway for possibly an 80-20, where we would get 80% of it funded from the feds to go ahead and build that portion from that 4,000 feet, and then possibly go ahead and do a 50-50 match on the local, where MoDOT, and then what we would do on the savings of what we would normally put in, or what we might have put into that intersection, we may shift it and look at some arrangements of what we can do at St. John's and 100 and work with them to bump that up. They've identified that as a safety item, but it's not funded within their, they don't have it funded within any timeline, but they have identified it as intersections all the way up and down 100, all the way to 44. With St. John's being a focus, that's the closest to us. That's something that's not on this list, but that's something that we may want to go ahead and do. We've talked about the possibility of how can we get that funded earlier rather than later. So, but we did get cost estimates on all of this. That's how we came up with a 20-year term. And again, these numbers are fluid, obviously, depending upon what we're able to go ahead and get grants for. But just that, the project cost estimate of what I just described, that 4,000 feet on 47, we consulted with outside contractor, our outside design firm, to go ahead and help us with these numbers. And you can see the bottom line there, the project total, if you can read that, is $8.6 million to get those 4,000 feet in today's dollars. Give you some kind of ballpark idea. The other one is obviously Highway 100 West to go safety and capacity improvements, again, to go from widen it to 4 lanes. That is a stretch of about 3.25 miles, would end at Voss Brink Drive at the industrial park. We just currently, the contractor, as a matter of fact, started today on the widening project to put the turn lane just to go into Oldenburg. But this project would take it 4 lanes all the way to Voss Brink Drive and incorporate that and do some additional probably intersection improvements at that, any other intersections along the way. That could include KK, other ones that probably are going to need those improvements as we move forward. Currently, it's not on the state's high priority unfunded list. Highway 100 is not. We talked to Jordan about getting that located on that with our meeting the other day. And he feels comfortable that if we do have some type of cost share with MoDOT, that's how that can get expedited and moved up. And that's what we're looking at. Major developments along 100, as we said earlier, you've got the High Street and Pottery Road, both of those intersections. We're going to be looking at doing improvements to those. We already put in for High Street, so that's probably going to be done before 2030. If that grant is successful, that's the one that Charles and his team worked and sent off just recently. As we said, you got the new Oldenburg Industrial Park. There would be possible improvements there. And we did have Lockmiller get this study approved through MoDOT for some of these improvements that we're talking about. So they've looked at that to understand the capacity issues that we have. Project cost estimate, again, this is what we looked at for the 3.25 mile stretch. We had to go back, and Charles and I met with a consultant a couple of times to go back and revisit some of these numbers based on intersections. But as of today's dollars, and again, a ballpark of what you're looking at, about 32.8 million, almost 33 million for that stretch for 3.25 going down Highway 100. Again, you realize that you do have to go ahead and cross St. John's Creek out there by West 5th Street where it intersects. So that's going to be, that's part of this as well. You got future East-West Parkway and High Street extensions. Like I said, these projects will be only as if when the development occurs and it comes to us, just like what we've historically done. Just like we've worked with Northern Star Homes and them out there by Beaker Road. But without the funds, you're not able to go ahead and make the improvements. So you've got the portions of the road that's built. This is from the original study back from '98. What you see in blue are future improvements. What you see in yellow is the existing road built. And then you've got the future High Street extension that's identified there in red. This is all stuff that was covered in your comprehensive plan, went through the public process, was vetted that way. And again, this is probably three different comprehensive plans have identified the need to go ahead and have and continue this roadway as we said, as the development occurs. East-West Parkway roadway in general, what this is, I think if we're able to go ahead then and get this on the roadways that's classified through East-West Gateway, then you'd only have a 20% match because the total would be approximately 13.6 to build all of that, but you have a 20% grant match of 2.7, which is that's what the tax would be able to go ahead and be there for as those areas again develop. And again, this is some of the impact of the development south of 100 that we've met with. This is what Lockmiller looked at when they came up with the study, especially for the portion that's on that graphic to your left, that is up there in the top corner is Pottery Road. That intersection coming east to High Street, what you see there on the right side of that graphic. And then that second graphic over there was more homes that would be built as High Street was continued further south. And then High Street extension to Highway A, again, if we looked at getting 20% grant totals for that, you're close to $1 million. Looking at a total of $4.5 million for total construction. Again, this is all in today's dollars. Obviously, it's all subject to change, but we needed an estimate to figure out what are we talking about for future improvements. So, airport improvements, you have some items that we've identified. This is your airport layout plan that you're looking at. There's a total of $22 million in improvements. You have a 10% local match, so that comes out at 2.9. And then you're looking at an annual cost to have those funds available for those of about $114,000 over, again, 20 years. Local improvement projects, you have asphalt street paving, you have 80 miles of asphalt city streets. We try to pave all these streets at least once within the 20-year window. Concrete streets, you got panel replacements. We have 14 miles of concrete city streets. Parking lots, you have overlay and sealing downtown and in the parks, areas. If there is park funding, we take advantage of that so that we don't have to pull out of this fund for that. But then you also have sidewalks, replace remaining sidewalks that are not ADA compliant. That includes the curb ramps, and you follow your ADA transition plan that we have had adopted that we had to go ahead and provide. Trails, Bush Creek extension, riverfront improvements possibly in an overlay, and any other miscellaneous park trails. If there are other park funds that are available, we'll take advantage of those, but that could be the match funds that you have then to help with it as well. So this is the summary sheet of what we're looking at, and again, this is taking into effect of 50-50 on 47, so that's subject to change. But if you add on some improvements, if we want to take on the intersection there at St. John's, that would also increase a little bit, but we'll take a look at it. But we needed to get together and figure out what's the cost of all of these improvements that we foresee over the next 20 years. And what you see is $3.8 million annual cost to go ahead and do these projects. And you've got current revenue, as I said before, 2.8, John, 2.8, not 3.8. Anyway, projected revenue at 2% increase over the years. By the time you get to 2030, you're at $3 million. By the time you would project out to 2050, you're looking at $4.5 million of bringing that in per year. So an average revenue, annual revenue we would need that's showing 3.7, very close to the amount that we need for those improvements. So that's how we got to the 20-year mark rather than saying 25, which is how long the tax will be in place.
And those costs that you have there on total yearly costs, that's based on today's dollars?
Correct.
Poke holes at it, guys. Please, be skeptical.
I think, is that the last slide that's gonna?
That's it, yeah.
That's it. So anybody's got any
Leave that up.
questions, we're wide open for that.
Your Honor, I'm not skeptical of the presentation, or the process here. I'm just thankful we're in a situation where this is a possibility for our community. There's very few municipalities in the area, or I could even say a matter in the state, that are doing this proactively as opposed to reactively. And that makes a huge difference to know that we have the possibility of improving our major arteries and even East-West Parkway, to plan for the future, not just react to the future. And then we're trying to make subdivision roads into 4 lanes to handle that. So this is imperative, in my opinion, that we have this in place, work through this process, educate the public correctly that is not an additional tax, but it's what we've done, spent our funds wisely over the last 20-plus years, going on 25 years, and that it's the right thing to do for the next 20. There's no doubt in my mind. So this puts the numbers to the paper. So Darren and Charles, thank you for that. Like you said, you got to have this to present and know. We're not just throwing a dart at something and thinking that this is what we got to have to make it in the future, but this tells you and clearly budgets it for the next 20 years what we got to have. So again, imperative in my book.
Well, you said the right words as far as education. I think a challenge that any municipality would have is when you've had a sales tax that's been in place for as long as we have, which has been 20 years now with the transportation sales tax. A lot of people forget that it's even there. I mean, our tax rate's 8.85 for sales tax or whatever, and half of that, or 0.5% of that is attributed to the transportation. So I think a lot of people, like I said, when you have it in place for that long, a lot of people just take it for granted or not know that, that it's even in place, and that's how the city's able to go ahead and make these transportation improvements. So that's gonna be a difficult job for the committee. That's their job to try to get that word out, but we feel that it's best to go ahead and present this to the voters in 26, if for whatever reason if it would not be successful at passing, you still would be able to go ahead back and bring it back the next year in 27, and still hopefully go ahead and be able to not jeopardize any future funding beyond 2031 or beyond 2030 when it ends. So,
And I know you said it in the presentation, Aaron, and we're all very aware of that, but I think the education side of it also is why it needs to be that 4 years in advance, because of our grant money opportunities. If we don't do this till 2030, then you're
Our
gonna be.
matching funds
Our
have to
matching
be
funds,
there
correct.
in order to even apply.
Then we're taking a 4-way hiatus from improvements.
yeah, I think we've got a great working relationship with MoDOT. I mean, I think that's key to it. It's something interesting. We talked to Jordan about it when he was here. I mean, reality, the 4 lanes as we know it today that have been in place since 2010, if we would not have taken those steps to do it, they probably would not be built until as 2025. That's what MoDOT has told us a couple of times. I don't know what this community would be like right now in 2025 if we didn't have those 4 lanes all the way to I-44.
Scary to think what we would
Yeah,
have.
it would. So the city, worked with MoDOT to go ahead and do this. We even talked about, like I said, a way to reduce that amount on 47 so that we can have a little bit of say in some of those improvements where we anticipate that eventually we will annex to. And I think that's very important for us to plan for that. We could even plan beyond that. You could go all the way to Country Club Road if you really wanted to talk about it, if you wanted to do something. But we could do it in phases, and I think take advantage of those dollars as much as we can. We definitely want to go ahead and get federal dollars. But I do think they're going to, if we want to have a say in how the improvements on Highway 100 go east at each one of those key intersections, including the school district where South Point School is, I think if we play a role in matching that at minimum at St. John's Road, I think then we have a little bit more of a say of what type of intersection that will work and what the general public would like. Because we had a lot of people in here when MoDOT first had just an open forum to talk about those improvements at each one of those key intersections. So we got a lot of feedback. There was like 100 people here. So.
Well, it's our citizens here that travel that road every day and go through those intersections every day, so it is imperative to them to have the safety going that way, no doubt.
And that one too, with the school, we hear about that, but, you know, the
Right,
fear
and
that
it's,
people
you
have
know,
with the
and-
buses coming out.
Right. So, all right, we just wanted to go ahead and bring you guys, give it to all of you, because obviously not all of you are at the transportation meetings or whatever, but we want you to see these numbers and see what we're working on and what we're trying to get set up. Thanks. And Charles' staff did a great job of putting all these numbers together with, trying to come up with the estimates, so.
Report of department heads, engineering department, ArcGIS software renewal.
All right, good evening, council. So in front of you is the renewal for our ArcGIS, all of our mapping software that we utilize. So we do this every 3 years. We renew the contract with Esri for our ArcGIS software. 3 years is up here. The biggest thing here was a price increase that we hadn't seen over the last 6 years. So basically, same as kind of what the city was going through. They realized they weren't increasing their prices and they needed to get up with today's standards. So we will need a budget amendment of $5,600 to approve this.
What was it last year?
$15,000
That
per
was
year.
it? Okay.
Yep. So that's what we budgeted again.
Yeah.
We were crossing our fingers that it would stay the same.
So we just get done saying, hey, good job on doing all your estimates, but we were 25% off on this one. That scares me a little bit. We know everything goes up. That's a huge difference. But
Yeah, they said they were definitely behind on updating it and then also just giving notice to the government entities as far as budgeting. So they'll give us more heads up about what this will cost in the next 3 years when we get there, so.
Need a motion to send to council if there's no further discussion, you
I'll
guys.
make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Holtmeyer, second by Coulter. Further. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Goes to council.
Right-of-way acquisition, 1498 High Street.
All right, so I'm trying to pull up the map here. So, this is right away for, the potential project that we just put in for grant funding at High Street and Highway 100. So in talking with the adjacent property owners about that grant, there was an opportunity to go ahead and acquire some right-of-way now at the northeast corner property where Iron Spike is. So the property owner agreed to donate that right-of-way. So good opportunity to get ahead of the project here and get that right-of-way acquired, so.
are we gonna need more there then too?
We shouldn't need any more at that intersection. We will need some for sure in this southeast corner. Have spoke with the property owner down there, and they're aware of that and seem open to that as well, so.
Well, I think it goes without saying, thanks to Mr. and Mrs. Stratman for that donation of right-of-way. I know we continue to get a causeway update every month, so we take that from Bill and appreciate that, knowing, I think Bill's a good guy and knows that these improvements are needed and necessary and have been a staple in the community for a long time, so thanks to him and his wife. Agreed.
Move we send it on.
Second.
Motion by Wessels, second by Briggs. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, guys.
Library department, budget amendment.
Nelson, you're up.
I'll give you my other one.
Yeah, no, might need hearing aids here now. Yeah, good evening, council. You'll see in the packet there, a little letter from me, and our computers that we had over the summer, we had a new solution that was degrading quickly. It wasn't working for our public computers, and they were going out a lot. So I met with Darren and kind of said, we need to take a more meat and potatoes approach and go back to basics for our public computers, which involved getting some new computers. So I said I would look for a grant for that. What you see is that the state library, through their mini technology grant, did award us $19,000 plus for the project. The Friends of the Library kicked in an extra $1,000, and I want to note that the Friends of the Library had also already replaced all of our monitors by giving us $5,000 in the last budget year, so that wasn't included. So that's about $25,000 which leaves about, what, $952? Is that what? Yeah,
Yeah,
$952
to be covered.
still to
through
be
the city
covered in
fund.
that, and that replaces our public library computers for patrons to come to the library, use the internet, and print documents, and increases the stability of the system quite a bit.
But the budget amendment covers the grant coming in, for the revenues coming in for the project, including the Friends of the Library and the grant, and then it also covers the expenditures going out.
Questions, discussion? Take a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Briggs,
Second.
second by Patke. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Nelson.
Thanks on getting the grant, Nelson.
Yes.
Parks Department, one-man lift purchase.
Evening, council. In your packet tonight, we are trying to purchase or replace our existing lift that's from 1998. We use it in a number of jobs. We use it at the shop. We use it at the pool, around the slide. We have a wonderful sparrow problem out there usually every spring. And then at the city auditorium. And so it gets a decent amount of use, and then the fire department also borrows it from time to time. If we were to purchase this new lift, we would, I've talked to Tim, and they would like to have our old lift at the fire department so they can change their filters and things over there, and so it'll help them out also. And so we budgeted for this. The budget was $15,000. It came in at $11,700. Questions?
Wayne, do you see any reason why you couldn't get a light-duty two-man lift?
I mean, I know this one, when the guys use it, and Chad can correct me if I'm wrong, I think a light-duty one.
The auditorium floor will support it. That's why I said light, a light. They make. This is the lighters ones I see will still be like, 2,000 pounds or something. This is like 1,000 pounds. Because they do make those as light as a one-man lift now. They do have a series out now. I was just asking if. I did look into it because I'd rather have a bigger lift. That's what I figured. But, with the weight of the auditorium floor and that, just not, I don't feel safe that it would be right. Okay, because I do know they have, because some projects we can't have heavy equipment on them. And, they're just a scotch heavier than a one-man lift now, but I was just asking about that, because two-man be a lot safer sometimes. Most time it's for lights and stuff, so most time, what we do that with, we could do with one man in the bucket. So, all right. I did look into the two-man lift, and I talked to them, this is one of the closest amount of weight that we felt comfortable putting on the floor. How much weight will this one hold? I think it's like 1,200. All right.
Further questions or discussions, you guys?
Motion moved to council.
Second.
Motion by Patke, second by Bear to send it on. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes.
Zero-turn mower purchase.
All right. In front of you, we have an Exmark zero-turn mower for purchase to replace a 2015 mower. It's got 923 hours on it, and we've been having a fair amount of engine repairs on it, and so we felt like it was time to replace it. We are able to get this on a purchasing contract. We did reach out to Hillerman's, and we got a bid for them based on the specs that we had developed. And with the Omni purchasing contract, still come in $4,600 cheaper than Hillerman's. And so I know I had a question before council meeting tonight. It looks similar to what the airport purchased last week or last council meeting. There are a few key differences. We had additional horsepower on ours. We had a striping kit. It's called an OCD kit to where you can close the flap so it doesn't blow the grass into the landscaping beds. And then we have the premium tire package that has the hard tires on it where they don't have air in them, so they won't go flat. And so we are able to get this on the purchasing contract. And it has a two-year commercial warranty. Questions?
Move we send it on.
The added features they're necessary. You need a striping kit?
Yeah, when we do the athletic fields.
Okay. The kit and the cable. Yeah, my same question was, we just did one $2,500 cheaper, but, it was also a year older what we bought there. The airports was a 2024, but the same base price, but, the added features makes a difference.
Wayne, what do you plan to do with the other one?
We'll keep it around for a little bit just to make sure we have enough mowers, and in the summertime, it helps with the seasonal kids. But then if next year, next mowing season, so in '26, if everything's going okay, then we'll likely get rid of it.
But you're having engine issues even at 900 hours.
923, yeah, a number of them, I don't, exactly what.
Oh, that's all right. That's low hours to have engine trouble, but that's okay.
It gets high use, but, and heavy use sometimes with heavy grass up at the fairgrounds and everything, so.
Motion by Wessels. Any further discussion?
Need a second.
Second.
Bear was first, sorry, Mark. Motion by Wessels, second by Bear.
Hydrich. I'm helping you with your ears over here. I'll be your ears.
You heard correctly. He's already going. That's okay.
It was Bear? I'm sorry, I thought I heard him. See, well then, I'll take your other one.
Here we go back to those old white guys up
We're
there
moving
again.
it on. How about that?
Too many old white guys.
Hey.
Okay.
Speak for yourself.
Any further
You
discussion?
tell him, Chad.
The youngster over there.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We bought more. All right, thank you, Wayne.
We do have an item to discuss in executive session, if you'd like to go ahead and squeeze that in before our meeting at 7.
Public vote on whether or not to hold a closed meeting to discuss personnel, legal, or real estate matters pursuant to section 610.021 RSMO 2000. Bear?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Coulter?
Yes.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Altmeyer?
Aye.
Patke?
Yes.
Wessels?
Aye. Where's Joe going? Again. Go.
Isn't that fun? Get that report?
Yeah, 20 cents.
I just hate to see some of our employees on that list. That's what I hate to see.
I wanted to make sure I wasn't on there. I was just checking that.
I remember when I